Something about this show doesn't make sense. Not the story, the reaction to it. Yesterday has a known cast, an existing fan base, and a decent rating, and yet almost no one is talking about it. So I needed to figure out, did people just not watch it? Or did they watch it and decide not to talk about it? Let me be upfront about two things before we get into this. One, I am a Fort and Pete fan. That's the reason I started watching the show in the first place. So yes, there is bias here. I'm aware of it. Two, I'm not here to convince you to like this show. I'm here to explain what it actually is. That's where most of the confusion starts. Okay, let's talk about yesterday. So the first thing I did, I checked how this show is performing. On my drama list, it has 12,204 watchers, a 7.9 rating, and almost no written reviews. That combination is strange. A bad show gets talked about. A good show gets talked about. A show that lands somewhere in the middle, people just quietly move on. And that silence says more than hype ever could. Before you judge it, you have to understand what it's actually trying to do. Most people come in expecting a romance. What they get is something much heavier. This is not a comfort watch. It was never designed to be one. Yesterday is a nonlinear story about trauma, control, memory, and how relationships can become distorted over time. It's adapted from a Chinese novel, and it carries that tone all the way through. Morally gray characters, emotionally complicated dynamics, and no real attempt to make things feel safe for the viewer. The structure is probably the biggest barrier. It doesn't guide you. There are no clear transitions, no obvious markers telling you where you are in the timeline. You're just dropped into different points in time and expected to keep up. For some viewers, that's engaging. You're actively building the story yourself, connecting scenes and understanding context slowly. For others, it feels like the show is withholding information, like it's making you work for something it hasn't earned yet. The show asks you to trust it before it gives you a reason to. That's a real risk. Now we need to talk about the relationship. This is where most opinions split. The dynamic between Kelvin and Veer is not balanced. It's built on control, emotional pressure, and a very clear power difference. The show is fully aware of that. This is the story. Kelvin pushes boundaries, manipulates situations, and sometimes crosses lines that are genuinely uncomfortable to watch. The show doesn't step in to correct him. It just shows you and lets you sit with it. This is where it gets complicated. You can recognize that something is wrong and still feel pulled into it. The intensity makes you want to understand what's happening next. That curiosity is what keeps the show working. One thing that stands out clearly is the acting. Pete brings a very controlled intensity to Kelvin. Even in quieter scenes, there's tension underneath everything, a kind of stillness you can't quite trust. If the acting was weaker, this entire story would fall apart. The chemistry also feels believable within this dynamic. It's not meant to feel soft or comforting. It's meant to feel real within the story. The show does have real flaws. The early episodes are difficult to get through because they don't give you enough clarity to stay grounded. For a lot of viewers, that's where the disconnect happens. The middle portion slows down noticeably, and if you're not already invested, it becomes harder to stay engaged. And this is not a passive watch. You cannot multitask through this show. It will lose you immediately. So when we come back to the original question, why is no one talking about this? It starts to make sense. This show doesn't create easy moments to share. No light viral scenes, no simple emotional payoff. So instead of spreading, it stays contained, watched quietly by people who either connected with it or didn't. This isn't a show people are ignoring. It's a show people don't know how to recommend. So is yesterday a good show? Yes, but very specifically. It succeeds in what it's trying to do. The storytelling is intentional. The performances are strong, and the emotional tone is consistent. It's not designed for a wide audience, and it never tries to be. So if you're looking for something light, this is not it. If you're okay with something darker, slower, and more uncomfortable, this might actually be worth your time. And if you've already watched it, I'm genuinely curious. Did it work for you, or did you drop it early? That difference in reaction is exactly what defines this show. Okay, that's it for the video. Let me know what you think about this series. Did it work for you or not? And if you liked this video, you can subscribe. I'll be making more like this. I'll see you in the next one.